Well, I am joined today at this moment by one of the topmost legal brains of this country, Mr. Harish Salve. Mr. Salve, this time many people are actually saying that this is more of a case of an individual targeting than any kind of even basic research work.
One of the channels, I don't know which one, showed a speech by George Soros. And George Soros is an investor in Hindenburg. People who earn money by shortchanging innocent investors and by practices which in most countries are considered illegal and in all countries considered highly questionable, then give us lectures on morality and democracy. He was very clearly suggesting how, his speech left nothing to doubt that these are the people who are behind all this Hindenburg nonsense. I have partly SEBI to blame for this second report, and I'll tell you why. I said this before, and I'm saying this again. SEBI has to find who are the people who sold shares just before the Hindenburg report was released, round one. Today, finding who traded in shares is easy because all trading is done online. If SEBI had found out who are the people who had made money when the Adani shares crashed, that would have been the smoking gun to nail these people. They issued a notice to Hindenburg. Hindenburg doesn't care. It will not reply. Why should it reply? It's not in the jurisdiction of Indian courts. Hindenburg is not going to bother replying, so he's mocking you. He's put the show cause notice on its web, and you have to catch the Indian people and the Indian partners and turn the screw on them and bring them to justice. So unless we do all that, this always happens. SEBI is always chasing the wrong person in the wrong end. So that's why it's partly a self-inflicted wound. But this report, I've read what the report says is unconvincing. What it does is it picks up something about investments made by the former chairperson of SEBI in her former avatar when she was a private banker and she was living overseas. And it picks that, it picks this, and if as they say, there are lies, there are damned lies, and then what is worse than all of this is half-truths, because they sort of start resembling the truth. So the report is full of half-truths like it was last time. I'm happy the Indian market has shown maturity in not reacting to it. The political system in India, unfortunately, has acted very differently. It's all right. They have their own compulsions.
Mr. Salve, you are essentially saying that one part is disclosure. One part is obviously profit making by individuals, unscrupulous,
Yes.
as some jurisdictions would call them, and some jurisdictions, you say, consider this kind of activity completely illegal. But quite clearly, there is an element which at least the SEBI chairman is indicating at, which is targeting reputation and character assassination, which obviously then follows up because you are alluding motives or you are attributing intentions to a date, to a past, to a position, or to a time when she obviously would not have foreseen that she could have become the SEBI chairman, or a need for an inquiry under her charge would have arisen.
I mean, the things are becoming so ridiculous. Today, if it's like saying if I have the same fund manager as one of the clients against whom I'm appearing, I have a conflict of interest. How ridiculous is that? See, we have to understand these people are professionals, and professionals work things out. They make a bit of money. They invest it. She's been in the financial world. I remember I had the privilege of working with her when she was in the bank, when all these actions had been brought on against the bank by these Trivandrum traders about certain products of the bank. She's extremely astute in finance. So people like that, they have some spare savings, they put it in an investment. And 20 years later, somebody takes one piece of information from here, one piece of information from there, and makes this allegation. And I'm making this point again. Why do people get away with this in India and not get away with this in the United Kingdom or in the US? People get away with this in India because we do not take character assassination seriously. We do not respect people's reputations. We talk any kind of nonsense in public, including senior people talk nonsense in public about people in office, people holding sensitive positions, and we blink at it. Until we start taking India seriously and Indian reputation seriously, this will continue to repeat. I have many times, I had even suggested to the government, you must have a tribunal set up specially for defamation, especially now with the social media so powerful. You know, in United Kingdom, if you bring an action for defamation, it is fast-tracked, start to finish 6 months to a year. We have to bring that, or make it a rule in the high courts. If an action is brought, if a suit is filed for defamation, the suit must be finished in 6 months. Because today, in a country like India, where we are seeing this change, where professionals are coming forward, setting up businesses, setting up the India growth story, reputations are extremely important, and reputations are a wealth, and reputations are fragile. So it's because we allow this kind of thing to happen that a monster like Hindenburg goes on and on like this. They are mocking India. Have you seen? They are laughing in our face and saying, we gave one report, we got a rap on our knuckles from the Supreme Court. We also found that they had picked up some information from Mr. Prashant Bhushan, who had then filed petition based on that very report. After being exposed so widely, they have the temerity to bang a second report down, and our political system is up in arms saying, Hindenburg, now so and so should do that. In any other country, people would have said, Hindenburg report, put it in the garbage bin.
You know, Mr. Salve, they say that a lie travels the entire world before the truth can even put on the shoes. And in the days of social media, that the era that we are living in, obviously these lies become on just one tweet is enough to damage the reputations, and then you can try as best as you can to salvage it, but it will never be the same, because most of your adversaries will then continue to use that as a pretext to target you. Now, my question to you, Mr. Salve, is another one apart from criminal defamation and apart from individual character assassination. My question to you, Mr. Salve, is also about the fact that, when the confidence or an attempt is made to shake the confidence in the Indian markets, Indian stock markets, time and again, many jurisdictions, Mr. Salve, will not take this lightly. Do you think that there is enough follow-up action, and of course that action principally has to come from the SEBI itself, has been done in this country so that such attempts, which many are describing, many neutral observers are also describing as targeted attempts, stop at some point?
I said this when the first Hindenburg report came out. I said, whether Adani has breached any rules is a matter which calls for investigation, and you can investigate it till the cows come home. You investigated them, I think, a dozen times before, and you will do it a dozen times again. Because allegations fly thick and fast in India without any sense of responsibility. But what is something which is apparent is some people have indulged in short selling and market manipulation. And you do not need proof for that beyond what you already have. Investigate that with as much vigor as you investigate Adani, in fact, greater vigor, because that's a low-hanging fruit. Tell people, if Hindenburg had information and they had concern, Mr. Soros's great professed concern for the integrity of the Indian market, he should have written a private complaint to the SEBI saying, investigate this. He didn't do that. They all want to make money on other people's misery. If we had gone hammer and tongs against those who have profited, and it's very simple. If somebody knew of the Hindenburg report and short sold, and the presumption is if somebody is short selling a perfectly perfectly good script which is trading well, he has some advance information. Go after those people and send at least one message. There may be an Indian corporate who may call for investigation. But if you are going to manipulate Indian market, if you have some information in the corporate, we will go after you. But we don't have that.
And Mr. Salve, it's almost as if after the first report also, in this case, Hindenburg is cocking a snook, by first putting out a very cryptic tweet, as if one of the biggest expose in the world is being made by this short seller who's obviously claimed that it's his business to make money through such activities. There's something big in India soon. I wonder why such things are not done in the United States itself or in other advanced jurisdictions. Of course, in this case, Mr. Salve, Mr. Gautam Adani's reputation is targeted. Now, there's a lady at the helm of affairs of SEBI whose reputation is targeted. Do you think that other than the institutional response, these individuals whose reputation is supposed to be targeted, now whether it suffers, whether in the public eye or whether, the public also sees through these attempts is a different question. But the fact of the matter is that an attempt is being made. Do you think that these individuals themselves must take exemplary action and ensure that such, at the end of the day, targeted character assassination bids stop?
Please understand the grave risk we are running here today. Why have they targeted the SEBI chair? They have targeted the SEBI chair saying, next time when we attack somebody in India, SEBI, you dare not go against us, otherwise we will pull you down. So the attempt is to target the independence.
Attempt is to browbeat. The attempt is to browbeat.
And this is browbeating, and you take it from me, these people will not even spare judges because they don't care. They are not in the Indian jurisdiction. So it's like sending a message saying, look, if you tangle with us, if you engage with us, if you challenge us, we will throw mud on you also. And India is such a lovely country. Anybody who throws muck on somebody is celebrated, and the poor person, however innocent he is damned. And then we immediately start hearing cries for JPC report and so much resign, etc. Without even, we are not loyal to ourselves. We are not loyal to Indians. We would rather go by what a two-bit dishonest American organizations say and pull down in one of India's largest industrial groups and a senior regulator. It takes 30 seconds for people to jump onto the bandwagon and attack. We are disloyal to ourselves.
That's a very strong point you make, Mr. Salve. And
it is. I'm sorry, it is. Would this ever happen in America? Would this ever happen in the United Kingdom? You try writing an article about somebody in the United Kingdom, they will come together to fight you. They may investigate, but if you try casting aspersions like this, try saying something about the UK regulator in an article in India, they will all come together to attack you. Try saying this about the Justice Department in the US, they will all come together to attack you. Whatever they may do inside. We are Indians. We will sort out our own regulators in our own way. But if a foreigner attacks our regulator, we must all unite to tell them, you shut up. How dare you? Instead of saying, oh my God, the oracle has spoken, let's pull our institutions down.
And you make a strong observation about Hindenburg also, that two-bit short seller. The fact of the matter is that people should not forget that this short seller is under investigation by multiple competent authorities in India and in some other jurisdictions outside India also. But
see what is going on here. We Indians need to do some soul searching. A crooked organization, and I'm using very language of studied moderation, a crooked organization like Hindenburg, which has zero credibility in its home country, writes nonsense about your senior regulator, what do? Whatever you may do in-house, you may look at their allegations, you may later on take action against your regulator, do whatever. But the first reaction has to be, we reject this report, this is a piece of trash, and Hindenburg, please go and sort out your own affairs in your own country before you write about us. That is a loyal response. I am not saying you ignore allegations, but there are ways of responding to the Hindenburgs of the world, and this is not the way to do it. We are giving credibility to Hindenburg in India by responding to the allegations and saying, oh, Hindenburg has said this, the oracle has spoken. This has to be gospel. Our SEBI chief is a liar. Hindenburg is the only truthful voice in the world. SEBI chief, step aside.
It's sad. It's sad. I mean, as I said, reputations are fragile, and one slingshot taken at them, and years of labor and hard work can be undone. But that's not my question. You interestingly also mentioned, Mr. Salve, and I now I request you to don your another hat, that of an administrative lawyer as well, somebody who has assisted and worked with the governments. And you hear a lot of clamor and demand for a JPC. Using your administrative exposure, Mr. Salve, do you think a JPC can be the correct forum? Remember, the report has not emanated in India. No Indian agency has collected material for this report. The Supreme Court of India has refused to entertain the demands for an independent inquiry or a probe by the CBI. They have said that the SEBI is the market regulator and let them do their job. It's their job to probe allegations. So do you subscribe to this talk, Mr. Salve, about the demand for a JPC, or do you think the JPC is the competent forum where such issues, such vexed issues emanating in a foreign land can be examined?
So let me enter a caveat. Members of Parliament are entitled to demand whatever they like, and the House will deal with their demands. But purely as a student of constitutional law, a joint parliamentary committee is a very rare occurrence to investigate an event of great national importance, where it has to be bipartisan. It cannot be on divisive lines and on political lines. That's what joint parliamentary committees are. Instead of that, what you need in the present case, if there are allegations that somebody has breached the rules by making investments which are contrary to the rules, etc., it's the people who administer the rules who have to, in the first instance, look at it. A joint parliamentary committee is never an appellate body. So what are you trying to say? That if the SEBI has got it wrong and the Supreme Court has got it wrong, the Joint Parliamentary Committee will now decide whether the Supreme Court was right in accepting the report of the external committee and accepting the report of the SEBI? Or I don't know what precedents you want to set. Why not tomorrow have a Joint Parliamentary Committee to examine whether the Supreme Court judgment on reservations is right, or whether the Supreme Court judgment on electoral bonds is right, whether the Supreme Court judgment on something else is right? So these institutions work in a separate, in separate areas. Violation of making law is Parliament's job. Controlling the executive is Parliament's job. If there is an executive failure, of course, you investigate through a joint parliamentary committee. But when this is a matter of alleged infraction of law, infraction of law calls A, for an investigation by those who are authorized to investigate, which has been done. B, for actions under law, and the action under law, the last word is that of the Supreme Court of India. So we run through this. Now, I don't know what the Joint Parliamentary Committee is going to do. Can they say Supreme Court wrongly accepted the report? I don't know. I mean, they can say whatever they like, but to me as a constitutional lawyer, this is not really what Parliament is meant for. But of course, if the MPs feel that they should sit on it, and if the House agrees, they will have one.
And my final question to you on this rather contentious matter, Mr. Salve, is that do you think that there are some vested interests are at play here? Because time and again, one short seller charging on, taking on, creating documents on the people related to one corporate entity, while that corporate entity is certainly not dealing with public funds. I mean, they are not a government body that public funds are being siphoned off or public exchequer is being compromised. I mean, and even in that case, a short seller, particularly a foreign short seller, has nothing to do with it.
Let's be very clear. When I said it's a matter of investigation, why is it a matter of purely of investigation? There is an allegation that there is a person who's doing business and that person has acted in a particular way which has violated certain rules. Nobody has suggested that there is any governmental favor in Adani investing somewhere or not doing somewhere. And let's not mix up with the other nonsensical allegations you hear about saying government has presented them with airports. They've got the airports were with private people. They have purchased them. They have purchased the shares in the companies in which those airports are being run. They've come in through the bidding process and set up ports. So, all this kind of narrative, which is maybe all right for elections, and I don't understand politics. If it works, it works. But when you're talking of investigation, you cannot have these kind of things. Tell me one thing. Tomorrow, if the Joint Parliamentary Committee comes up with a finding, can they take action against Adani? No. What will happen? They will have to tell the SEBI, you take action. If the SEBI starts an investigation and passes an order against Adani, I will have that order set aside in the short run that they were influenced by what an external agency said. And Parliament in an investigation would be an external agency. So we cannot have this kind of a system running in parallel. And tomorrow, if they have a joint parliamentary committee on the commission of a crime, and joint parliamentary committee says, yes, so-and-so has committed a murder, what's going to happen? It has to go back to the police. Police has to investigate. And the independence of the police investigation can be challenged, saying you were influenced by a JPC report. So, this is a very serious thing which people who run parliament and who have the best interest of the country at heart need to sit back and think whether that this is the right trajectory.
Mr. Salve, moving on to another rather contentious issue and which you are also representing, and that is the judgment which is supposed to be delivered possibly tonight on Vinesh Phogat. What do you think our chances realistically are, Mr. Salve?
I would be indulging in what Hindenburg is guilty of, speculation. I don't want to speculate. Let's wait. It's improper to comment on a pending case. Let us see what happens. I'm told that the Indian Olympic Committee has set up a press briefing at 6 p.m. CEST, which will be about 9:30 India, because that's the latest by which the award should be up. So,
and we can all be hopeful. All I ask from you is this.
Well, I will only say I've lost the best cases and I've won the worst cases. I mean, each case has its own karma. And this is pure speculation to say hopeful or not. We know what happened. It will be improper of me to speak of what happened in that hearing till the award is out fully.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salve. As always, some very forceful, erudite and prudent words coming from you.